board members. And again, I want to thank you for voting to run the levy because you knew it was critical. And I would like to ask all of you, could you please confirm if you are standing by your vote to support the levy? I'm seeking clarity on the board's position regarding this matter, as the successful passage of the levy is of critical importance to our community universities.
I support the notion of the levy.
You got a yes vote for me. Yes.
That's why I voted to put it before the people. I think it's important, I think it's necessary.
Are you giving information to your constituents?
I've talked to everybody about it. It's almost non-neighbors, but I don't talk to somebody about it. Okay. And I will say, I don't like basing decisions, I never like basing decisions on feelings, ask my wife, she'll tell you it's anything nuts. The fact of the matter is, this is the right and logical thing to do for this district, and I hope everybody recognizes that, who has the responsibility to get out and vote. And that's where I think our emphasis should be.
Okay, thank you.
Which I do believe your mailers will be going out soon. They are finalized. I got a rough draft from Ashley Walker, who's put an amazing amount of work into these mailers with a lot of factual information. So they will be heading on out here shortly.
Are those going district-wide?
They're
Or-
going to your mailbox,
Okay.
district-wide, everybody in Mountain View School District.
What's the number on that? How many neighbors?
It was a lot. Everybody
Oh,
that
no, it
votes
wouldn't be
for,
that much.
no, everybody who votes for this levy. I feel like it was 7 something, but I could be wrong.
Taylor, is this the 3-minute time block or is that?
No, the official 3-minute time block will be when we start the open meeting. This is just kind of a casual, if anybody wants to ask a question that we can actually freely answer, this would be the time.
Just we're all hanging
There's
out.
always those caveats, but yes, so.
Okay, so, well, I might jump in on yours, I guess. As far as, I'll call it the cut list. The cut list, as far as an agreed upon, I'm going to use that just as a generic term. But how does that list look? Have you guys kind of formulated together, or even at the highest level, what that might, not necessarily these are the exact things we're going to cut, but this is the likely, can that terminology be used?
That's the terminology I keep using.
So,
And I will keep using likely. I can't say definitive, but I will say likely. And I could almost say very likely. But I will continue to say that. The decisions haven't been made, so we can't say this is exactly what we will do, but it is our best step, and we have come up with nothing else. So that's what I keep repeating. I know it's not like the definitive answer that you want, but that's what I can give you.
and I guess not so much to the point where I'm trying to pin you guys down exactly on it, but leave some wiggle room on that, but understanding if you're trying to achieve a number, there's only certain things that can be done to achieve that number. Is it the bulk of that list?
For sure. And honestly, we're not even there yet. If the levy doesn't pass, it's that list and more.
So that's exactly the topic I want to talk about, so I'll just segue on what you were saying. We're hearing that there's this cut list, it's possible, it's probable, is what I'm gonna say. I'm just looking for direction. So you guys are trustees. You guys are our representatives. You will be the ones that come up with that list. It's not us, it's not a committee, it's you. We're running out of time. You have to have your budget set by your June meeting. So you don't have any wiggle room. After that, it's done. Then you get to publish it. Before that, you're gonna wanna have your list. And you're probably gonna wanna have it before the levy starts. You're gonna wanna have 2 budgets. One with the levy passing and one with the levy failing. So you really got about a month to figure this out. And you're telling me in a month you're gonna find $3 million besides what's on that list? That you also need to add to.
2.5 on that list.
Yeah, that you need to add to get close to that $3 million mark. So, are we what are we telling people? I mean, I got my ballot, I looked at it, and it had Kuski School, Elk City School on that. That's telling me what I'm voting for to save. I think it would be better for the patrons to know exactly that those things are gonna go away. It gives me something to think about a little harder if I know that these are what's going away, not, I guess what I'm looking at is, I don't wanna have politics in my school board. I don't wanna play politics. It's not a political position, it's an apolitical position. It is your guys' duty as a trustee is to set policy and to give our kids the best possible education and our community the best possible school system you can with the funds entrusted to you. Now, it's up to the taxpayers to entrust more funds, but my point is, I've talked to another board member yesterday, and the conversation I had was, if you're advocating for voting no for this levy, what is your idea for $3 million? And the answer was, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
Was it one of our board members?
Oh, that was one of your board members. So, the one that's not here tonight. What is your idea for the $3 million cut?
The one that seconded the motion to run the levy?
Yeah.
Actually, I second it. So the deal. Make the record clear.
So, my point is, you don't have time, because it was, well, we're still trying to figure that out. We're running out of time to figure it out. And I told them, I've been looking at it for years, and I was an advocate for not closing the schools, but I can't find any more money. I've looked at the books myself. I'm looking at what's online, and there isn't anything else to cut. So, we still gotta cut more. So,
Yeah.
let's just be honest with the patrons and say, we're gonna shut schools down. Because
Okay.
that's the honest truth.
Well, that's what we did
If there
January,
was,
February.
if it's one board member, like, I could say, yep, that would be my choice.
So I,
There's 5 board members, that's the problem.
I looked at Idaho Code 33511, talks about closing of schools. You can shut buildings down, it gives you the authority to do it. You guys will have to definitively say, as a board, we're voting to shut these buildings down and these schools down. There's a process for shutting down a school, it's not just like, I think we're gonna do it, maybe not, maybe we will. You're gonna have to definitively say it. I guess what I'm saying is, why don't you tell me as a taxpayer right now what I'm voting for? And if $1 million of that levy is going towards schools, basically, just towards keeping them open.
It's on the levy ballot.
It is, that's what I'm saying.
I mean,
But
that's-
then we got you guys saying, I don't know if we're gonna do it or not. We're gonna do it. Let's be honest with what's gonna happen. That same board member, I said, it's 99.9% positive, in my opinion, that you guys are gonna have to shut the schools down if the levy fails. And the response I got was, well, that's not true. It's maybe 99% positive.
Carlos,
It's
I
gonna
don't
happen.
know what else I could do. This is a tough.
I feel like our job is to be fair with the patrons.
Absolutely.
I think we have 10 hours of meetings identifying anything that we possibly could do, right? It's on the ballot. People can say it's the Edwards list. People can say we didn't come up with it. People can say we didn't vote on it. But the facts are the facts. Without a quarter of our budget, we will have to shrink our footprint. Bottom line. Like that is, and anybody who can't see that connection, who's obviously never owned a business or never had to budget a home, because when there's no money, you have to cut things. So, I mean, that's just how it is. And somebody said we had a Cadillac education in a Ford community, and I'm like, this is Cadillac education? Because I've been to Coeur d'Alene schools and Nampa and all these other schools, and I'm like, this is not Cadillac.
Our people are different.
Yeah.
People are that.
There you go.
I mean, and we could have shut GHS down instead and displaced
How many more students?
260 students to save 38,500 extra. But you wouldn't have saved it. So. The harsh reality, yeah, that's what it is.
So, I wanna be positive, everybody's got their signs out, let's hope the levy passes. But like Carlos said, if the bad stuff happens, I think we need the practicalities of what it looks like to close the school. Like, for example, if we're gonna bus kids to Grangeville, we only run one bus route that picks up K through 12 So are you dropping the littles off at the elementary school at 5:30 or 6:30 in the morning to get to Grangeville? When do the kids that are being bused, when do they get breakfast? How do you get back? So then after school, does that mean the kids that ride with the high schoolers have to wait for 2 more hours? So now they're at school an hour and a half before school starts and an hour and a half after school starts. And I'm just saying that there's a lot of actual practical details that need to be addressed in a short amount of time. And the staff, who's paying for the staff? Like, how much is that gonna cost? And then, clearly that's gonna be an uptick in behavior issues when you've got kids that have nothing they're supposed to be doing, right? I mean, we all know what kids do, they're kids. So, let's hope that it doesn't come to that, but if it does come to that, I think we need to address what it looks like.
Does the board handle operational stuff like that?
Say that.
Well, I think we facilitate the superintendent. I mean, I don't feel, if they wanted it, whoever it will be, I mean, I think we'd all be willing to help. And I know, we've got a bunch of great staff that would be willing to help figure that out. I'm sure, Lance and Roseanne are already kind of thinking about that. I mean, I would.
Would it be worth putting like a committee that would include board members, superintendent, principals, bus people? Would it be worth putting a committee together to talk about it, even ahead of the vote, knowing whether it's gonna be, but to actually get together and say, okay, let's get these logistics figured out, so it's one less thing we have to do if the levy fails.
I would be in favor of doing that, as I said at the last board meeting.
Have you guys started that at all in your leadership meetings?
Yes. I've talked with custodial staff, I've talked with transportation staff, I gotta talk with the teachers. I'm gonna talk with maintenance. And the scenarios, what do we do if the levy fails and Clearwater Valley Junior Senior High is closed? And what do we do with Dub City?
So you guys are exploring that.
Yep.
Are you wanting like more staff to be involved in that than just leadership right now, or do you think that just the leaders are?
I mean, I do think if staff are they're going to be impacted, obviously, and they may have some good ideas that could come out if you were to at least talk with them, even if they didn't have to be a part of actually making the decisions, but being able to say some of the things that they have ideas on how to try to cut down on issues like what Shar was talking about with having kids waiting, how long bus rides and how long their day's going to be and things, those ideas. I think the teachers in the buildings know a lot about those things.
Yeah. I've had a lot of emails from people that are smarter than me solving problems that I didn't know how to solve. So yeah, I definitely think sharing whatever you guys have would be great with any of us, especially the superintendent and any staff that want to be involved. Let the principals know, just go through the chain of command and share your ideas. Right now it's kind of a time where we all just have to come together. Your secretary's probably
I know that all those things have to be addressed, but my main concern is getting the people out, educating about why this has to pass. And first and foremost, work to get it passed.
If the levy does pass, then is CV off the chopping block, or can it still be a possibility that the school at CV will be closed?
No, because the levy would fund that 23%.
What about deconsolidation with my tax dollars?
So deconsolidation is when, I don't know if everybody understands, and I'm not trying to down talk you, but like, you know how Riggins has its own district and Kamei is its own district? They manage themselves. Deconsolidation is where those people deconsolidated. Like Riggins used to be a part of us and they deconsolidated and now they manage their own money, they make their own calls, they do their own stuff. And so we are gonna still pursue deconsolidation because we feel, I don't know about everybody else, I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like we need to explore it and see what the communities want, kind of like the levy. Like, cause the deconsolidation can't happen without voter approval. It has to
My
be.
tax dollars for like 2 years that I'm paying into the district,
Will
if we
go-
deconsolidate, what happens to it?
Okay, so it goes to the district and it still goes to CV just like always.
Can I jump in?
And
Yeah.
All right, so the board formed a committee, we have topics, we met once. And the importance of the levy overrode more discussion on the deconsolidation. And since that time, I read the 157-page deconsolidation of Riggins. Tyler once said, at one point in time, said we could only split it into 2 districts. We have 3 communities, so that's what the committee has to decide. And then if you look through the document for Riggins, there has to be an equitable division of property, assets, buses, you name it. No one's gonna get shorted because, and I would say this, I don't know where the lines were before consolidation, but that does not necessarily mean 70 years ago, they're gonna go back to the lines they were. So the district has to come up with a plan. The plan has to go to the State Board of Education. The State Board of Education looks at the plan, then they come back down to back to the commissioners, and it's put to a vote. And then the communities, the entire district voters decide, do we want to separate or do we want to stay together? And then that's the final decision. So it's not like anyone can say, because one area is not voting for the levy, that they're going to be deconsolidated. Everyone in the entire school district decides, so people in White Bluff would help decide and vote.
Whitebird?
Well, yeah.
So, I just want to underscore, it's a lousy metaphor to use. Just think about it like community property in a divorce. That's what it is.
Yes.
Everybody has equal ownership, regardless of what building they work in or where their kids go to school. That is what it is. Everybody owns all of it. So the state's job, frankly, is to say, this is what appears to be most equitable.
Yes.
And that's a big chunk of that sort of thing is out of our hands. And maybe it should be. Makes it easier for people to just get a clear picture back. But it is something that voters are gonna have to decide ultimately, and I think that's right, absolutely, because we're the ones that are gonna have to live with that decision.
And in the meantime, if the levy passes, we'll be a status quo,
Right.
operating the same.
And then here's the other thing to remember, when you do
Over here,
deconsolidate,
sorry.
Yeah, he's been waiting.
Lacey,
Oh, sorry, Lacey.
yeah, it's okay, I'm just over here. We won't get 50-50 if you deconsolidate, just so like everybody knows that. We're only gonna get 23% or
Yeah,
28%?
yeah, it's based on ADA.
average daily attendance.
But you'll have enough to
Based on
function.
number of
I mean,
students.
We'll have
Right.
the buildings and
That's-
buses.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Equipment, like,
It's
I'm not gonna come and say,
proportionate.
well, I want the desks and the chairs.
Right.
And it's gonna take multiple years.
Right.
Yeah,
It
The
takes-
it's
the
just
funds
happening.
from this levy will probably be expended before deconsolidation happens.
Okay, good enough.
And that, and, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know.
We're getting to
You
you
feel
now.
bad, sorry.
One thing that the yes voters have never touched on is overall, the grade testing has been less than 50%. What the kids are supposed to know at their grade level. Overall, and this is a fact, you can look it up, is throwing all this money at it gonna make the teachers better? Are they gonna be able to teach the kids better? Are the kids' scores gonna come up? That's something nobody touches on.
It's not throwing money, it's, providing the basic budget. It's not like we're adding money to these people, we're continuing to employ them. So it's not like we're adding money. It's not like we're asking, our operating budget is 13.1, I mean, might be 13.8, yeah. And so we're asking for 23% of the operating procedures. We're not asking for 23% extra. So the other thing I want to bring up, though, academics, those are test scores, correct?
Yep.
Are you a good tester? Do you test well?
I don't know how I test, I don't know how it's done, but like I say, when you look up the test
Right.
results, the students are below 50% overall when you average
Right.
all the grades, all the testing. To me, I don't know.
failure.
Okay, hold on.
That's failure.
So I was a teacher for 14 years, and I got to sit in on a couple of those ISATs. And the third grade kids, their first year, they have to like move screens around. They've got questions here. They have to move these screens around and scroll. We're talking like, I lose interest on articles in the paper if I have to scroll too much. Like, it's
Give them a paper test, if
it's-
they can't handle that.
well, I would love for you guys to come see a sample. Actually, if Kim Fails could bring a sample next time, and we could show them like a sample test. Well, you can show the,
5 minutes, guys, 5 minutes.
no, yeah, but you can also show it on the computer.
We could put a practice.
Yeah, practice test. Just because you guys would be amazed. Like, my son just took the ISAT for English, and he wanted to, he made his breakfast, he did everything well, and he came home crying, and he was like, Mom, and he's 12. He was like, I don't think I did very well. And I was like, hey, bud, it's okay. But you can't judge a kid on a 2-hour test. Or the teacher.
Just Zach, 2 minutes here and 2 minutes in the back. Here.
So, as a teacher who's in the building, first of all, across Idaho, the scores are below 50. It's not just our school district. It is across the board that the scores are like that. So it's not us doing something wrong. We're not doing anything wrong with that. Second of all, I'll tell you, I'm a third grade teacher. It's the youngest that kids take ISATs. My third grade students who are 8 years old. They're 8. And the requirement for them, they have 4 different ISATs that they will be taking. Our first one is next week for my kids. It is the writing portion of the ELA, where they have to read 2 full-length articles, retain the information that is in those articles, take notes on that article, and then read a full page of instructions that they have to pick out what they actually have to do. And then they have to be able to write one of 3 different types of writing: narratives, which are stories, informational, or opinion, based on the 2 articles that they had, including information from both of those articles, and they have to write 5 full paragraphs on it. An 8-year-old. So when you are basing that and saying that that score is reflective of what's happening in our building, you don't. That's not
Okay, look
true
at graduating seniors.
But it's
and
still the
employers
same.
saying, geez, we can't get kids that know how to do math.
But it's not just
and
our
can't
school.
write. I'm
Look
not saying
across
that.
the state of
But there's a
Idaho.
problem.
Okay.
There's
Now
a
we're
problem
going back.
across this
And that
country.
has been our problem since testing came about.
Okay.
I just want to remind people that when we just deconsolidated with Riggins way back in 2006, it cost thousands and thousands of dollars and time and stress. There is a cost to deconsolidation, and the biggest cost is you lose your strength in numbers. As a district, the more bodies, the more revenue. Working together, we need to find ways to work together, not just turn their backs. You're free to reduce percentages in Grangeville. You don't qualify for any grants anymore. You know, it's based on the average of the district. Nearly 80% down here, 40% up there. You know, who's going to get the grants? So please, deconsolidation is not the answer. Thank you.
So are you talking the expenses of the investigation that was done, that $16,000 report that we have?
Yeah, and that was back in 2006. What do you
Right.
think that same study is going to cost today?
There's been a lot of deconsolidations without a $16,000 study. Just so you know, it doesn't have to happen. It's not a requirement.
Back to you, there, sir, with the Trump hat on. I just want to say, like, as a parent of a student that goes to high school who takes tests, I got a phone call this year because my son completed a state test in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's supposed to take 2.5 hours. He said, I was like, oh, sweet, you're calling. He's brilliant. No.
He's just clicking.
No, he just clicked. Didn't want to sit in there. It was sunny outside.
But did he do well?
No.
I can do a test in 5 minutes, that doesn't
But
mean
does
I
he
work.
work? Is he employable? Yes. He's actually your new jailer, Idaho County Sheriff's Office. So, employable, yes. Clicker, yes.
Test taker, no.
No. Attention span of a 2-year-old. So, there's that too.
No, you can't evaluate one, student with by one test. It's just like, can you evaluate a professional team because of one game? It takes the whole season. And so that's what we're suffering, yes, with the ISAT. It's just one snapshot, and that, certain kids could just had a horrible morning. They could have showed up, they're sick. No idea what happened the night before at home, and they're gonna do poor on that.
But you have like 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
So I think that's a great point, and look at driving and driver's licenses. You fail the test, you get to take it over again. And that's what we do in education. If you aren't passing a test or even a class grade, you get help. And that's what education is about.
If you still want to speak, you can still sign up for public session.
Yeah,
You can still sign up to publicly speak.
oh, pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sign up for public comments if you'd like to.
So,
Yeah, I guess we're ready.
Carlos Martinez, levy.
Okay.
I had to take the glass off. All right, to kind of discuss some of this. Oxford Dictionary defines a trustee as an individual or member of a board given control or powers of administration of property in trust with legal obligation to administer it solely for purposes specified, not just whatever your agenda is. Black's Law defines a trustee as the person appointed or required by law to execute a trust, in whom an estate, interest, or power is vested under an expressed or implied agreement to administer or exercise it for the benefit or to the use of another. A trustee is also used in a wide and perhaps inaccurate sense to denote a person that has the duty of carrying out transaction in which another person are interested in such manner as will be most the benefit of the latter, and not in such a way that he himself might be tempted for the sake of his personal advantage to neglect the interests of others. In this sense, directors of companies are said to be trustees or of the shareholders. Very similar in government. Our elected officials are the trustees of us, the shareholders. The trustees, when we talk about education, are supposed to only handle a couple of things. I mean, it's very clearly outlined in the state of Idaho's laws and in everything that the Idaho State Department of Education puts out, what trustees are required to do. They make the bylaws, rules, and regulations of the district that consent with the laws of the state of Idaho and the rules and regulations of the State Board of Education. They call special meetings or elections for such purposes as may be necessary for the proper conduct and management of the school or school systems within the district, to employ attorneys when deemed necessary for the best interest of the district. They have the ability to close down schools. They have the ability to open and build schools. Have the ability to do a lot of different things. The one thing they can't do is play politics. And I'm very clear on that. That's when you start having your own personal interests take over in this job. This is not something that you got on here to do for your own personal benefit or gain. If that's the case, step down, get off, get somebody else on there that's looking out for what's best for our kids. The word politics. Politics is a multifaceted word.
15 seconds.
It's got a fairly specific meaning that are descriptive. It is the art of science of government. This is not the science and art of government. This is what's best for our communities, for our kids, and for educating them. I encourage all of you to put politics aside and just start dealing with the job of being a trustee. Informing us to the best of your ability and doing the best you can with the assets entrusted to you by the public, whether they come from tax dollars, levies, however. Thank you.
Jason, community?
Well, I'm going to go into a little bit of what Mr. Martinez said there. This touches on politics, but it's not political. So Sunday I had an opportunity to go to the Republican meet and greet for the candidates coming up in the May election. And one of those candidates had 3 really strong points that he made. The first one was pretty profound. He made it during, these points were made during the stump speech, and then they had a panel discussion. But the first one was, if every church in America steps up and takes one foster kid, it almost eliminates the entire foster care system. And what that takes is the church to step up and then the community around it then to support it, to get involved. And then the panel discussed at several different levels was, yeah, the community needs to get involved in a ton of issues. This sign used to read before it went out, said, and now get involved. Yes, now get involved. Another point that this candidate made, a really strong point, was that just like all districts, we're never going to agree on everything. In this candidate's electoral district, in our school district, we're not going to agree on the same thing. But I say we can find one thing to agree on, and that's our communities. That's the through line. Remain strong as a community. We have a ton of disagreement as a school district here. And all of the energy to fight those things needs to be aimed out and not tear down our communities. Our communities are the same ones that uphold that church to adopt the kid. It's the same communities that's our economic center. It's the same communities. It's the same communities that I say it a ton of times, but it's the lifeblood of our nation, the backbone of our country, these rural, small, conservative communities. There's a ton of disagreement, don't tear it down. And the last thing the candidate said was that, and he was referring to the school district, is that this is a problem that didn't start overnight and it's not going to be solved overnight. So we've got to be civil with each other, take one step forward, 2 steps back, because it's going to take a long time to undo 10, 15, 20 years. You guys, you got to come together on some of those hard things, not kick the can down the road. We got to find consensus on those hard things at the least highest level and say, hey, this is what we speak as a board to the community. We need that transparency. We need the over-communication, even if it's small, so that these guys know what to expect. We've got a lot of work to do. You guys have a lot of work to do. I say make community our through line on this one.
Thank you.
Katie, education.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and community, I feel very passionately about this, so I will probably repeat myself, stories that you've heard before, but I want to repeat how important it is to consider the holistic nature of an effective education. When we talk about test scores, we're not talking about an education assessment that is modeling what kids will be doing in the actual real world. I was an agriculture teacher at Grangeville High School. A lot of the kids that were in my class were there because they wanted to learn welding. They wanted to work on tractors. They want to be out in the greenhouse in the sunshine. They want to get their hands dirty. As a community, as parents, our goal is to raise kids with durable skills. A durable skill is not test taking. A durable skill is grit. It is work ethic. It is the ability to take the knowledge that they gained in their academic classrooms and apply them in different aspects of their lives. Taxes are nothing, paying your taxes, preparing your taxes, that's reading comprehension, that's basic math. We all learn those at a young age, but it requires different avenues of application in order for us to be able to make meaning of them in the real world. And many people don't even apply those basic skills. They hire accountants, and the accountants get paid very well. I had a student who was one of those kids that was a clicker. I've spoken about this before at board meetings. He was in remedial math. However, he was an excellent fabricator, and he is now professionally employed in our community as a welder because he could do complex trigonometry in his head. Failed his math class, he's a professional welder. You tell me that kid's a failure? You tell me that kid has failed because he was measured as it's the same as if we measured a fish on its ability to fly. And furthermore, you need to also consider the other ways within the school that the students are able to apply their skills. Trustee Meyer's kids are welders, or sorry, we're past that. They are wrestlers, the other card W word. They're wrestlers. I tell you what, you have never seen a kid who has more mental and physical control than someone who is successful at wrestling, because they are fine-tuning every aspect of their physical and mental being the entire season and often beyond if they're going to be successful. He clicked through those questions, and by the state standards and by anyone who's just assigning him a number, that kid is a failure. However, he is a publicly employed servant. He has excellent control over himself. He is an intelligent young man, and he is doing great things for our community. Now, you assign a failure grade to kids who are doing things that most adults are not doing in their job every day. That's unfair to the kids, that's unfair to our teachers, and it's unfair to our community. I don't want a crop of kids who do nothing but take standardized tests. I need durable skills for the community. Thank you.
Any other comments? Well, I would like to entertain a motion to amend the agenda under the consent agenda to add approval for hire Vincent Martinez, Clearwater Valley Senior High School principal, and Amanda Bush, Grangeville High School principal.
So moved.
Okay, so wait a minute.
We need a motion first.
I need a
We need
motion.
a motion.
I move that we
Do that.
do that. Can we do them separately?
No, because it's under the consent agenda.
Okay.
Yep, I need a second.
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No, aye.
Good to go.
No, you now need a motion to accept the amended agenda.
I would like to entertain a motion to accept the amended agenda.
So moved. Second.
I will second that.
Do we have to vote on that?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're good. All right.
You're good to go.
So,
Here's your new agenda. Just to show your upgrade.
So moved.
approval of minutes, do we need to talk about that?
Yeah, no, it's under your consent. Take them all down.
Approval of minutes, approval of drills, approval of bus routes, remove CCFCU check signers, approval of hire, and approval of resignations.
Mr. Chairman?
Approval of supplemental contracts.
Oh, she can have it.
Do we need to discuss these things?
What are the bus routes?
What's that?
Approval of bus routes, what are they?
They were over at the beginning of the year, so they have been going on.
Oh, copy.
So, do we need a motion in order to discuss this?
You need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any further discussion? Alright. Alright. Moving on to reports. Superintendent's report.
Okay, I have 2 Apple Awards. One on 10 fails with the help of Carly Dealer. Work on federal programs review. This is an accomplishment for her 2nd year and learned the requirements. Passed with flying colors from the State Department of Education. And then McKenna, I think it's Denuit. She was, congratulations for her election to the BPA State Executive Vice President. And I think she was the president this year. I learned that, after coming to the, is it the Student Council or the, I'm not sure what it was then, but she's now the BPA Executive Vice President for the year. John has to sign those and then I'll get them out. Anything on my report?
I was just hoping for an update on how the meeting in Elk City went.
I think it went well.
I was there.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I got an email from Melanie and John, and Joyce Deerstein called about the murals. And as I said last night, our process was to paint the buildings for longevity, and the murals meant something to the community and kids, and of course you revise what you're trying to do with the community to say this is what's best for conserving your identity. And so actually when Joyce called, she said, I got this idea, and at the same time Jared Andrews came to me and said, I got this idea, they aligned, and it's like, well, this is gonna be a good meeting because we just have to get both ideas on the table and move forward. So the district will meet its requirement for spending the money to paint the buildings by the end of June, and then at that point in time, they can update the murals, and then the community will do that with volunteers, and then Jared will come in and clear coat them between the time they do that and the start of the school.
And I just want to say, alongside what your comments were, I thought it was really neat to watch people not only involved, but actually step up and say, I can help with that. I can help with that. It was great. That was one of the best meetings I've ever been at since I've been on this board. And I was there as a board member, I was just there as an observer. I thought it was great. So kudos to Mr. Spock for not only how he dealt with the issue, but the way the whole process just came together. It's how I wish we could do everything that easy. I mean, not easy, but you know what I'm saying. It's us.
That was my report.
Okay. Move on to principals' reports.
I gave you each a copy of my report, so I won't go into too much detail, but just a couple things I'd like to point out. First of all, thank you for the job you do. I do have a couple of Apple Awards I'd like to present to 2 teachers that are here tonight. So one of them is to Mrs. Simmons. So Mrs. Simmons has been a wonderful help to me. Personally, she is one of our building principal designee. She is the principal designee when I'm out of the building, so she does a lot of leadership work, and appreciate that, Mrs. Simmons. And also to Mrs. Fabby. Mrs. Fabby was elected, well, she was nominated and received an award from the Veterans of Foreign Award, the Smart Maher VFW National Citizenships Education Teacher Award. I mentioned this, and she received it at the state level, and so she is the State Teacher of the Year, and we received a special recognition for our school. So thank you, Mrs. Fabby. Thank you. And just a couple things, I think, again, looking at facilities, I was also very encouraged by the meeting in Elk City last night and the coming together of people. I really think, Mr. Spock and I have talked a lot about that. I think some of these things, we've gotten into a community situation where everything needs to be a controversy. Everything does not need to be a controversy. It needs to be a simple phone call.
hey, we've got this mural, it's really important to us, what can we do to preserve it? Rather than going to social media and making it a big deal, let's just come together, make a phone call, shake hands, and it was a wonderful meeting, and people, you know, volunteered, hey, let's get out, let's help, let's do more of that. Okay, we do have a beautiful mural here in Elk City, also painted by Robert Thomas, that will be coming up in the next couple of years, and so we're gonna be looking at, you know, how can we get that solved before? We don't want to take away murals. Murals are a wonderful historical thing, so we want to just let the community know we need to work together. We need to work together. Okay, the other big thing that I think is two important things. Right out here in front, as you're coming in, you might have noticed our sidewalk. It has a lot of divots in it. That's going to be a big, costly repair at some point in time. I understand there's a lot more things on our agenda, but we had a staff member trip, and thankfully they didn't break anything, but it was very serious. We need to be looking at those facility upgrades that we're going to have to do. At this point in time, our maintenance crew is looking at how can we level those cost effectively without having to totally, you know, but we do have some drainage issues that are causing some of that. So those are things we need to be looking at. Another concern that I have, and the community in Elk City has, we've had a wonderful teacher this year. Unfortunately, is not going to be able to stay because of the housing issue. Elk City does not have very many houses at all to rent. And the ones that are there, a lot of them are VBRO or VRBOs, and so they are not like a long-term rental. And so we need to be looking forward as to, hopefully, we can get this levy to continue to pass and we can keep a school going, but we're gonna have to look at how can we help the teacher find housing. And so whether that's to bring something in that's on school property, there's just some things we need to be looking at down the road. So I just wanna make you aware of those and be thinking of those things. So, thank you.
We have a special education report?
No, just that I have the manual and we'll be doing the action item and
Federal programs report? Nothing said? Right. Technology report? Anything?
Mostly still working on the stuff I said last week. Whenever that was. Feels like a week to me. Yeah, basically we've ordered the docking stations. We started transitioning teachers and secretaries away from desktops and to plugging in their laptops at their workspaces to fully utilize one piece of technology. I've mentioned it a few times in meetings, but we actually started the project, another project, and it's going really well. It's been really successful, and that's encouraging. Yeah, still working on Cyberdome and some of the cybersecurity stuff. Still working on the Wi-Fi rollout, and also trying to finish up the Securing Our Future grants, both of them now. The first one has been going fairly well. Of course, there has been some, I've had to consider the implications of deconsolidation and other things before I put lots and lots and lots of labor into certain buildings, and so had to rearrange some things and adjust the strategy, but stay productive and stay, keep moving forward. So, the Securing Our Future Phase 2 has been working on the intercom system, and so I've been working with vendors on that stuff and trying to get that finished up, and then also I'm trying to get another source of funding for that project through P1FCU, but I'm not sure. It's not exactly like a grant, but it's been a lot of the same. Just trying to stay on my feet for the most part, but it's been a lot of checking stuff off before the end of the year. I don't want to start the year with a bunch of projects, so I'm trying to get all of these done before we finish here. So, yeah.
When you decommission technology, hardware, is there some process that you go through, or?
Yeah, so currently we have a recycler out of Boise who typically will take the devices that I deem unusable. I did want to actually apologize to you guys that I patched together a webcam for the board meetings. This is what our teachers deal with every day. I don't put money into technology unless I know it's the best deal in the entire world, and I know that it's a worthwhile investment. I literally have soldered motherboards together. I never spend money unless I have to. So I wanted to apologize about the quality, but I won't invest in a better system until I'm sure it's the best thing for the district. And that's how I function. So with the recyclers hate me because the stuff I give them, they're like, this is trash. I'm like, I know it is. I use our technology until it's done. That being said, there apparently is a surplus thing that I've spoken with some staff members about that I do want to explore. If we could resell stuff on auctions and things like that, maybe get $150 for a Chromebook or something.
No, it's worth it, yeah.
It could be. And like I said, I am committed to fully utilizing technology until it's basically completely purposeless. So.
Thank you.
But that's a good question. I have heard that there's been some concern about.
It's just throwing technology away?
Yeah, throwing technology away. Last technology I threw away was from before I was born, and it blew a fuse, and I did actually try to manually wire the fuse together myself and couldn't do it. So, yeah. So, I mean, that gives you a little perspective on how I do technology. So.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions? Okay.
Thanks, Rick.
Yes.
Financial report.
Okay, as always, I like to start it off with just making sure you guys remember our handy dandy website. And I have already uploaded the packet that I presented to the board this month, with the updated numbers through March 31st. So again, sd244.org. Right up here at the top, financials and board reports. And we are in the 23-24 year and March. And so every month it's, I know I kind of revamped it at the beginning of the year, but now it's been pretty consistent. It's my financial Q&A. It's the year percentage or year-to-date percentages and amounts spent per the budget line item, and then some of our major funds and the balances. So that's there. Nothing new to report in that aspect, but my levy presentations are starting next week. So I'll have my first one on Monday in Elk City at 5:30 at the Elk City School, and then I'll have the Whitebird one on Wednesday the 24th, also at 5:30 at 1906 down there. And then I'll move to Grangeville on May 1st for the 4 o'clock and 5:30 presentation, and May 6th down here CB at the high school library, again 4 and 5:30. Tyler and I went to the post-legislative session this week. Public Superintendent Debbie Critchfield talked for the first part of it. That was probably my favorite part of last year, being a first-year comptroller, and I might have to say it's my favorite part of it again this year. She just is really incredible to listen to and very informational about what all happened during the legislative session. Some big topics. So House Bill 292, which last August, we got the $407,000. So we didn't have a levy pass, and so now it's in our reserve account. We've talked about that. That's what allowed us to go from the $3.136 million levy per year to the $2.936 million levy. We're taking $200,000-ish a year to help lower that amount. That is a continuing fund, so that will be coming again this year. We don't know the amount we're gonna get, but if the levy passes, that new amount will offset the levy for this year. But again, the $400,000 that we have currently in reserves will be able to offset our maintenance for next year and the year after if the levy passes. And then also a really big ticket item that she talked about was House Bill 521. That is a really big chunk of money that is coming in from the state. And we don't know our exact amount yet, and there are some options that I need to go over with the board on how we handle that. There's an annual option or a lump sum option, and so there's a lot to think about, but that can very much benefit the district going forward. It could help with the sidewalk situation, it could help with a handful of, it's dedicated to our maintenance, and so it is good. But a lot of new information coming out and still kind of a lot to, I'm not gonna lie, wrap my head around. So it's still new, legislative session just recently closed, so I'm still gathering as much information about it. I just didn't want to ignore that topic. It's very big, it's very exciting. It is more money for the district for our maintenance. I just don't have more specific details yet, but I didn't wanna not say anything, so. Those are my items for the month. Any questions?
Move on to business, huh? Approval of special education manual.
So every time we get a new set of board members, we're required by law to approve the special education manual. This is the form that we have to submit to the state of Idaho. Here's a copy of the special education manual, and here's a copy of the letter that I need signed if you'll have to decide if you want to approve it. It will have to be redone next year because they're going to redo the special education manual because they've changed qualifications for SLD. I went to a 2-hour meeting about that today, but that's what it is for now. We do need to submit that paper to the State Department of Education, accepting that we agree to the rules within the special education manual, and we agree to the rules associated with IDEA, which is where we get our funding.
And you agree with this?
Oh, I
What's the SLD or SLT?
Yeah.
that would be a specific learning disability category. So in the past, you could be in the specific learning disability category only if you met 2 different qualifications. One, that you have an area of strength and weakness, and one that you have a processing area problem and you've been in RTI, but now it can be either one. You can have an area of strength and weakness or be in RTI instead of both. So it might be easier to get in under that qualification.
Okay, moving on to 20, no. Oh, do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the special education manual.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, moving on to 24, 25 negotiations. What do we want to talk about that?
You need a motion to open communication.
Can I have a motion to open communications?
I move that we open communications for the 24-25 negotiations with the CIEA.
That's all you need.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we need to move on to negotiation team members.
Yep, you just gotta ask who wants to be, you don't need a motion, just find
Who
out.
would like to
Who
be
wants to be on it?
on the negotiation team? I do not, and I will say that.
You can't speak for Mr. Miller, I didn't have a chance to talk to him either. Well, it doesn't work that way though, if you're absent of the meeting, you get
Maybe we
volunteered.
should.
You
We
should.
should.
Hey, that should make a new
Vote him
friend.
into.
You might find a learning experience for that.
I think me is very capable, probably the most capable on board, but she gets a lot of flack for it too, so.
Yeah, she kind of does know the whole inside
Do
now.
you need one or two?
We need 1 or 2, don't we need 2
Just
or?
one.
How about
Last year
two?
we had 2.
Right.
We had
Do we
to last year,
have
but I
to
don't
have
think we need to.
Oh,
It's up to
hey.
you guys.
I trust every single one of you guys,
I
so.
don't think, yeah, just be on it. The motion, is that, you don't need a motion, just who's on it.
You're appointed.
Are you willing to take that on? You can
Good.
say no if you'd like.
I'm willing to take it on because you guys are deconsolidation and you're like, well, yeah.
Everything else, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Possible dates and times.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry,
Um,
is it
We do
something
it
that
to
like,
determine.
is
would you guys want like a district office person also on it? I don't
And would you
know,
like help?
obviously I'm there.
Carly, do you want Carly on there with you?
Or if Carrie, either one.
Yeah.
You have so much going
Well,
on.
no, I was gonna do it no matter what,
Okay.
sorry,
Okay.
but,
There you go.
I didn't know if like
Yeah,
that made a difference.
Do we need to
you would make a
figure
difference.
that person out?
I got Carly on there. Is that what you want, is Carly?
Makes sense to
I
me.
was just gonna show up.
You can go, you can be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Possible dates and times? We can figure those out.
The team can discuss that at their own leisure. Yeah. Does that work with does that work with you guys?
Anything else? Moving on. Moment we've been waiting for. Still weapons.
I asked this item to be on the agenda. This is our concealed weapons, otherwise known as concealed firearms policy that was unanimously approved by the board some months ago. During our 10-some hours of meetings about the budget, it does appear we have the probability, I'll use that word, of being able to fund this, and I think it's important. And my objective, my personal objective is that we have this program up and running in time for the start of next year's school year. To that end, I would make a motion, and there's gonna be 5 parts to this, if you don't mind, Madam Clerk, but they're brief. They really are brief, trust me.
Okay,
One
wait, go
is-
slow for me then.
One is that we revitalize the concealed weapons policy. I don't have the item number, but I know you know what I'm talking about. Second, that we will survey staff with respect to their interest in participating. Second, that Mr. Spock and I will work on a cost for the background and psych evaluations that are part of the policy. That we will also develop a budget for the materials involved and also for the training involved, and come back at next month's meeting with a proposed budget, at which time we can take a look and see how, what our viability is. So that's my motion.
Do you need a motion for that?
If you don't think if you say we don't, then let's just move ahead.
That's
I wanna
up
make
to
sure
you
everybody's
guys.
on the same page. That's all.
I don't know if
I don't care if you.
If we don't need a motion, then we don't need a motion.
Hey Larry,
We'll just
didn't
move
we
forward.
already agree to it?
We
I
did,
thought
but
we passed it and
we did,
everything.
but you wisely said that we will only do this if we have the funding, and I believe we do.
Where,
So,
is it from a private source?
no, it's actually from the state.
Okay, but it's not
Not
like
out of the
currently
general
in our
budget.
budget.
Yes, it is.
In our budget?
I haven't spoken to her, so that's kind of.
13.8?
She's not sure what I'm referring to. These are all things that will come back to the report next month. We're just, basically, I guess if we don't need a motion, we're letting the board know that we're moving forward with revitalizing this, and we'll have numbers, because that was, like I said, you wisely said, if we don't have a budget, we can't do this.
Right.
So I believe we do, so let's,
So where is the funding source coming from?
I don't wanna name a specific source because I could get the name wrong, and then we'll have bad information out
Yeah.
there.
What are you thinking though?
What
Like,
am I
is it a
thinking what?
statute or is it, like, where's the money coming from?
So the state,
But like, what part of the
well, that's what I'm
state?
trying to tell you, I don't have that
Is it like
specific item
education
number.
or cops
It was discussed
grants
during
or-
our, it was discussed during our budget hearings, not budget meetings, I can't use the word hearings.
Okay,
It was.
so is it coming from the State Department of
We'll talk
Ed?
about this next month, is that what you're saying?
I'm not
Which
exactly sure
department?
specifically what department forwards the funds, and it's not fair to put Carly on the spot, because she doesn't know what I'm talking about.
when we find out.
Yeah, definitely. I just don't want you to do a bunch of work if the money isn't usable for it.
No, that I've already verified it is usable for this purpose.
Okay, and it's not already earmarked for something else.
Oh, it's not.
So
Yeah.
is it?
I've learned,
Is it
But
safe?
you haven't talked to Carly.
we're just getting started.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, you might talk to the financial, Comptroller
Actually, we
before you
did,
know
we
that
did back when the meetings were happening.
okay.
You doubt me, you doubt me.
I'm not doubting you. I
All
just
right,
wanna,
let's move on then.
if we're gonna,
Is it safe to say that Vice Chairman Dunn and Superintendent Spock will get together and get a budget together and bring it back to the May regular board meeting?
Correct.
and identify funds.
They will bring that in the
Of
budget.
course.
That will be in the
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah,
Great.
Yeah.
cool.
Does that suffice?
Fine, whatever works legally, that's your department, we're working.
Okay. Approval of policies. we need a motion for that?
There was,
I think Act 3050 was just from our hearing, you guys said, let's look at some revisions. And yet
yeah,
you
thank you
wanted-
for doing this.
Well, I haven't made revisions because I don't know what you guys want.
You made one revision because there's no timeline under number 4. It says, okay, so this is the attendance policy 3050.
Yeah.
Number 4,
It's
illness
dealing
or
with
hospital.
students, attendance, and on the second page, it talks about one of the things that can be forgiven is illness or hospitalization verified by a doctor's statement. In the past, it said that it had to be done in 10 days. But what was happening was kids were going to the medical facility. The parents were like, please fax this to whatever school my child attends. And then the medical facility got busy and forgot. And then parents were like, wait, what happened with my attendance? This is forgiven. So then they had gone outside of that 10-day period. So we were just hoping that that timeline might be either like a semester end or, I didn't read that it was anywhere in here.
Okay, so
It looked like it was
I'm with you now,
Yeah.
because what happened was, we had a student who went past the 10 without a note. When we got the note, we had the hearing, and the question was, if the note is here, why do we have to have the hearing? And I think if you go to the third sentence, line down of the first paragraph, it talks medical. And so I think what we want is we want to make sure that we encourage the kid and the parent, as soon as there's a medical issue, to at least notify the school. So everyone can start working on the clinic or whatever to get the note. So then we don't get into a situation where,
See, that's the problem, is secretaries can't call the clinic and ask for a note to be faxed anymore because they won't.
well, I'm not,
So,
I'm leaving that open because to me, if we're working it on together, it's the reminder to the parent. Our position would be, hey, parent, how's the clinic doing or hospital doing or whatever? Reminder, you're working towards those 10 days, and then I think really that could be in a letter that goes home when you reach day 3 or 5. Just here's a reminder, we're looking for this as we're approaching the 10.
If I may, it was my intention to ask for a second reading on this in any event, because I found a few grammatical problems. There's, in my opinion, there's some vagueness that's unacceptable. And I think we could have some time to get together and work these things out. We could probably dispense with this in the second reading.
Do you want to just tell us what the grammatical errors are and we can?
Well, I want to talk to Mr. Spock about it because he may not agree, and we tend to be pretty good about this stuff.
Okay, so my question is, what do you want? So I can write this, so what you want.
Yeah, I didn't want a timeline, or I wanted a timeline that worked for our attendance for IC. So we didn't have to go back in and correct attendance after it was already closed. So is that semester-wise?
well, you do
My
it the
understanding
best
is you do it at the
28
end of the
weeks,
year.
right? Is
But
it
you
the
have,
best 28?
but doesn't it close off after a certain? I thought it closed after a semester. You couldn't go back in and edit, or can you always edit?
You can always edit.
Okay. Oh, you would know.
You just have to go in.
I didn't see you over there.
Yeah, you can always
Okay.
edit it, you just can't edit grades.
So we don't need a timeline.
No.
Okay. And I don't see a timeline in here, so that's
It's
great.
a policy that you have 2 days after, but nobody ever holds that.
Right, okay.
Allowed to get in there.
And I don't see it in there at all. Do you? Yeah.
The 2 days is not in here.
So great. Okay. So we can just move that to a second reading.
pretty sure it was
next
10
month.
days.
I move that we move that to a second
I
reading.
need a motion for it.
I move
She
that
did.
we move it to a second.
And we're talking both items, 3050A1 and 3345, correct? That would be my request.
3050A1.
And I'm
No,
asking-
just 3050A1 for now.
Well, I'm asking for, well,
I would like to just keep them
3345.
separate.
Right, I'm just saying, in terms of, I'd like to move both of those to the second reading, so it's all.
I would like to deal with it now so that it's not brought to a second reading and the issues are still there. So I just want to do 3050A1 for now.
Well, I'm gonna, with respect to, let's deal with that one. Okay.
We have a second.
Second. Yeah, we'll just go with that one now.
All in favor?
Move,
Aye.
restraint,
Moving
policy.
second. Okay,
Now, moving on to the 3345.
for example, with respect to, and we're talking about a,
Restraints and seclusion sample board policy.
correct, yeah, 3345, restraints and seclusion sample board policy, we're talking an eight-page item. I'm not sure how much of this we're gonna be able to go to, but as an example, with respect to, second paragraph, let me find the beginning of the sentence. Third line down starts, the board recognizes, however, it may be necessary to use reasonable and appropriate physical restraint and or seclusion when it is least restrictive, when it is the least restrictive intervention and the student's behavior poses imminent danger. That's, I think that's poorly worded, of serious physical harm to self or others. What we're talking about, and we never, nobody likes to deal with these things, is we're talking about the possibility of legal entanglements when these things happen, especially if people get hurt, especially if there's a perception issue with regard to who's a danger, who's not a danger. I think there's reason enough in that one sentence to send this to a second reading, because we need to more clearly define what we're talking about. When you say one person's serious is another person's, oh, don't worry about it, okay? And when we're talking about this sort of thing and we're talking about physical harm, we need to be exceedingly smart about how.
Well, the staff is trained. These staff are trained
But this is just, I get that. Listen, it's not a dig. It's just me and my background that says that that's too vague. Some attorney's gonna pick this apart.
It's the same as the
Okay.
Constitution.
So that's my feeling. So that's my primary reason for the second reading.
Okay.
I would
Stays in effect, by the
suggest
way.
that Larry, Amanda, and I get together, because this is from the State Department of Education. It's now the statewide policy, which also ties to IDEA. And all of this, I realize it's 8 pages, but this is much longer than the previous one that it's replacing. And they have already done the background on it. And I understand what you're saying, but this is school lingo. And anyone trained by the school or teacher would understand this language and know when I'm going to restrain or put someone in seclusion or not. And if I'm not trained or have the ability to do that, I'm gonna seek someone out who does.
I understand all that. My perspective on policy is it needs to be able to be understood by the layperson, because we are a government organization to begin with, and I don't think this accomplishes that.
Okay, well, then I still say that the three of us get together so we can further discuss.
I just have a few
All in
things that,
favor.
when you guys discuss that and meet, just number 4 and 5 need to be separated, and then
Number 4.
there's just not a space.
What page you on?
Oh, sorry, page 4.
Okay.
4 and 5 need to be separated, and then,
Oh, yeah.
and then number 8.
Page 8?
Yep, it says all staff members directly assigned will receive training in crisis management, just de-escalation techniques, classroom behavior management. And so that would probably require all of our paras that are working one-on-ones to have that, training, and so that's something to take note of.
Which paragraph is that?
Paragraph 8, page 4.
Okay, I thought you were on page 8.
Yeah. Page 4, number 8.
Okay.
So we need to make sure every para, even hired mid-year, would have to have some sort of training.
Is that your school psych or your special ed director?
And I
Teach
would
them.
say that this is a great observation, because, again, this is what's going on in education, and
I was teaching for 14 years and I never was trained in it.
I know, but
I'm sure it's getting
we're to
better.
a point in time where not only do we need to onboard people, but we also have to spend the money to do that if it is necessary to make sure kids and staff are safe.
Yes. Okay. So then, 3345-5.
That's the page?
Page 5.
Page 5, reintegration in the classroom, the third header. The first sentence, it says students' crisis plan. I haven't seen a crisis plan.
A crisis plan is part of an IEP.
Oh, okay, got it. It's not a, it's, okay, got it.
So I think what this
So
is
that one's
saying is
good.
if you
But it
have
should
one,
say that.
we implement it. If you don't, then
That makes sense, okay. Okay, so then on page 7, under notice to parent guardian, paragraph 7, paragraph 7, all student handbooks in our schools will contain a statement regarding the use of restraint and seclusion consistent with this policy and outline reporting procedures, and we don't have that in any of our handbooks.
I have talked to Amanda and I said, once this passes the board, I would like you to create a sentence or a paragraph that goes to the handbooks, and she said, I would love to do that.
Awesome,
We do have the form already, and we can use the form that you are right.
perfect. It's my job to go through the policy and just make sure, so that's all I'm doing.
Procedures? Do we
So
have
that's it for that one.
So I think your next question is when the student handbooks come to you to look at, is it in there?
Or seclusion 4 or more times in 20 school days.
So where are we moving with this?
Okay, so I move that we move it to a second reading, policy 3345.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah,
Who seconded?
this one.
Who seconded?
I did.
I know, I have one too. I was like, oh, it's-
All right, moving on to approval of policies, series 2000. Nutrition
Are these edits from you guys, Maureen and you? Mr. Spock?
No, I have not done anything recently. This is a required policy and it's due to be updated, and people seldom want to talk about, rules about nutrition, the food police. But yeah, it's all,
Charity
People who
knife.
ruin
Yeah,
pizza.
Charity was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Charity knife looked
Charity was
good.
very helpful with this.
Right, is she the one that made the edits? Oh.
No, it's, well, some of them.
Well, yes, to both your questions. I've worked with Larry on it.
And they,
Yeah, gone back and forth.
yep.
and if you wanted to ask me questions, not here at a meeting, I'd be happy to join you and discuss or answer questions about it, but, you know, I need to do.
So have you seen this with the edits?
No.
Oh, well, then she
Do you want to see it first and we'll move it to a second reading?
It'll go to a third.
It's a
Well,
third.
it'll go to a third reading?
It would be helpful.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, that
Okay,
would be-
I move that we move this to
We didn't let
a
our
policy
customers-
2310 to a third reading.
Are you doing both of them to a third reading? Because they can both
They
go
go
under the same
together.
motion.
Yeah, might as well.
We have a second. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Informational items. Idaho Music Educators Association.
Right, they're just there for you to read.
Okay. Do I need to
Nope.
talk about
Nope.
anything in specific?
And I think if you are interested in going to the Leadership Institute, contact Carly.
Oh, wait, are we skipping over all of them?
Before.
Yeah, there's
Pick one you want to talk about.
I'm just really excited about the Secure Our Future Grant Phase 2. It was a competitive one. Phase 1 was guaranteed 20,000 per building, but Phase 2 was competitive. It was a pot of $6 million and there was $23 million applied for, and we got it for GEM's PA system, so it's very exciting. Just under 200,000.
And
So wasn't that PA system like 300 something?
That was the original bid,
That was
yeah.
the original
Yeah,
bid, right?
Black
I believe Michael's done a lot of good work to.
That's why less now.
Oh, sweet.
So,
It's like 200,000 now?
Because the grant was a max of 200,000, so I think it's what, like 196?
Yeah, 196. We got awarded 186, so I went back to the vendors. But that's why I'm talking to P1FCU. Hey guys, can you spot us a few bucks?
Yes, it's very exciting.
If they don't, we could run it through Freedom Northwest.
Okay.
So I did put a paragraph in my report on this as well as it's in here.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
Wait, what about your
We already
did that.
We already did the approve.
They were in the consent agenda.
They were in the consent agenda.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, thank you.
Tyler, do you suppose we should probably have a meeting before our next meeting? Well, if the levy doesn't pass, you're gonna have to have a RIF policy.
Oh, we do not.
We don't have one. We have a form for a procedure, but nothing.
Do what?
You technically cannot do that. It is not an agenda item. So I need you to come talk to me and then I will address the school board.
And then we can have
separately, and then we can have a special meeting. Yeah, we can't do it as a, we can, you see where I'm going?
Yes.
Yeah. So Lacey, just hold on and come talk to me.
Copy that.
Later.
Awesome.
Not
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,